Need some voices.
Okay. We live? All right.
Live before the actual stuff.
Okay. So, welcome to the Paradigm Shift podcast. My brother, how you doing?
I'm blessed, alhamdulillah. How about you?
I'm blessed also.
I'm glad to hear that.
Here to share some conversation with the folks out there. The topic of the day is going to be Bitcoin, what it is, why is it significant, and if anybody has any questions, pretty much we are going to be masterminding through this, right? You know, so I'm learning about this. You know, we're part of we using the cooperative model, right? Building the road as we travel, or learning by doing. And this thing called Bitcoin has captured the imagination of the world.
Yeah, you could only pretty much learn by doing right now, unless you want to get left behind.
Yeah.
It's early, we're still in the early adoption phase.
Yep. Early adoption phase. I think that it's. I think what we need to be sharing with the folks out there that this whole analysis and our whole framework, right? And this is in Raphael and the people here at the Academy. We recognize that there's been this shift in the world. It's kind of like we shifted on the axis, huh?
Yes.
Right. This is not. You know, I was born in the 20th century. This 21st century world is just different.
Man, it's like we're in the upside down. Like it's been a complete 180.
Yeah. So, what do you see as with regard to this 180? I know that I was already feeling this shift, right? But I know that definitely the pandemic was really the one that catalyzed this and brought to the mainstream.
Yeah, I feel like with any newness, discomfort comes, but I'm optimistic about the shift. It's been long overdue. We've been a part of many broken systems for a while, and this has all come about because it was a necessity. Like it had to be this way. So I'm optimistic. I'm excited. If you're here tuned in to this podcast right now, I feel as though you're in a good place. You're in a good space, and we're gonna learn together and go through this paradigm shift together.
Okay. All right. So 7:01 official start. All right. Showtime. All right. So welcome to the Paradigm Shift podcast. My name is Curtis Haynes Jr. My title is Dr. Curtis Haynes Jr. and
Raphael Suarez. That's
right.
it.
Mr.
Yeah.
Senior.
Yeah,
you're a senior.
Big senior.
Yeah,
Big
senior. You got a little guy.
Yeah, Raphael
Couple
Santana
little guys,
Suarez,
yeah.
senior. Yep.
Yeah,
Two
cool.
little guys, two little gals.
All right, beautiful. And I have a couple of children too. Now check this out about the children, right? So again, you know, this is the Paradigm Shift podcast. Today we're this podcast series is built around the Academy, the Leadership Academy in Community Building Economics in Buffalo, New York. This is an innovation center. So we have been in control of this building and in this space for the last 3 years. We've done events out of here, we got an Airbnb going on in here. But we're about community building, okay?
And speaking of innovation, blockchain technology is one of the biggest innovations of most certainly our lifetime, if not centuries.
Yeah, man. Now let me ask you this, man. How old is your youngest?
My youngest, 6 months.
6 months. Do you think your youngest is going to be dealing with paper the way you and I dealt with when he's in 10 years?
I mean, do you deal with paper? I barely deal with paper.
I barely deal with it.
I got some paper for sure on me, but last night I was at a cafe, and it was a young boy. He was probably 16 years old. He was behind a register, and he was shocked that I was paying in cash. And typically I don't pay with cash there. And after he mentioned it, I thought about it, and I never see people paying with cash there. So I asked him, I said, is it rare that people pay with cash? And he kind of looked at me like I was strange, but he's like, yeah, nah, people don't spend cash here.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much a thing of the past and almost obsolete.
Okay, almost obsolete. But is money almost obsolete?
Money will never be obsolete.
Right, and so I think that, what we're looking at is that money's changing form.
Yeah, this is new money.
So like old money, in like what about like when we switch from this old money, the dollars, the pennies, the nickels, the dimes, the quarters,
the coins,
right? The $1. The $5. Well, there used to be a $2. There used to be $2 bills, and every now and then I see some $2 bills.
They still in circulation. Shout out to my man Happy. He always talking about $2 bills and calling this and that $2.
Yeah. So the $2 bill, the $5 bill, the $10 bill. But one thing about like paying with dollars, right? Because part of the discourse with regard to Bitcoin is this whether it's being used for criminal purposes or what have you like that, right? But I mean, do you think we have a right to privacy? Should we have a right to privacy?
I mean, sure. I'll say that you should have a right to privacy, but every form of money is used for criminal activity.
Okay. True, right? I mean, I think some of the some of the big banks, right? They've been charged with money laundering and stuff like that. But I'm thinking, like, even for myself, right? When I use paper money, right? There's not necessarily any kind of digital footprint.
True.
Right?
Yeah,
and so it's not like I'm trying to be secretive or anything, but I have a private right to when I use money, right? No digital footprint.
Yeah.
But when I use a credit card, which is usually my next form, right? Is I use a credit card, and what's all the information we got to give?
Right. The irony is dealing in paper. There's not much of a paper trail, but dealing with these digital assets. From the new ones to the old ones of the credit card system, the debit card system, those automated systems, it's much more of a paper trail.
Yeah, so I just used a credit card to, we just bought some switcher, right?
Yes.
And so it took like a 16-digit number. It took my information. They wanted to know my information, my name, right? Sometimes they want my social security number, the last 4 digits of my social security number. They want the security number on the back of the card, right? So when I make transactions now, I'm losing some of my privacy.
Yeah, I mean, and at one point in time, those things were like coveted and really held in secrecy, but now you'll give away half of that information that you just said to download for your child to download a app on the phone or for a new subscription to anything.
Yeah.
We're so much more willing to disclose that information in the data wars age.
Yeah, and I think that the willing to disclose the information is kind of like resistance is futile. I know at first I didn't want to give up this, but it's like if I want to do transactions in the 21st century, right, it seems like at least in this transitionary stage that I had to give up a lot of information.
Same. I went through the same thing, but I try not to let fear dictate my actions.
Right, and that's I'm glad you said that, right, because part of this podcast, what we're going to talk about is what is the role of fear in Bitcoin adoption. Right?
It'll be major in a role in getting you left behind.
Yeah. Well, fear of missing out, right? FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. Now, how about this? Right? I read somewhere that my generation, I'm a baby boomer, right? That my generation is going to be passing.
You a baby boomer, Doc?
Oh, why you laugh at that, man? Look at this dude over here. What are you, a millennial? Or are you a Gen Zer?
I'm a millennial.
Right.
I'm a millennial.
I think that someone was saying that these young kids are called echo.
We at Echo now?
Yeah, echo, right? Or I know my daughter said that these young folks, like my son who's 14, right, that they're tech natives. You know what that means? What would that mean to you?
I mean, in the technical age, they were born into it, so they're native.
Yeah.
It's a technology age. That would be the assumption.
Now, you're a 20th century. You're 20th century, right?
I was born in 85.
All right. So
I don't know where that puts me, but I was born in 85.
I think you might be a millennial, right? But so my son is tech native,
Okay.
right? But
My son as well. They're the same
right,
age.
right? But I would say, like, for you and I, right? What was native to me? Basketball, football, baseball, right? That's just what I did, right? My son, what he does, he's on these machines.
Video games.
Video games.
Yeah, Fortnite.
Right?
Yeah.
Fortnite. Oh, in Fortnite, don't they use money? Like, what's the Fortnite money that they use?
I believe it might be V-Bucks.
V-Bucks.
Well, yeah,
Right.
comment below if you know.
Yeah. Let us know.
It's a digital asset for sure.
Right,
though.
it's V-Bucks, right? Because he was buying and selling skins.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So coming back, so my generation, right? Like we handing over wealth, right,
Absolutely.
to your baby, right? And some people would estimate that is going to be like about $37 trillion. So old guys like myself, right, the wealth that we've generated in this modern capitalist economy, right, that we're going to be handing this wealth over to this younger generation to the tune of $37 trillion.
Well, I'll give you a quick fact in terms of numbers. The current global market cap for cryptocurrencies is over $1 trillion. So
Okay. All right. And the current market cap for gold is $12 trillion. And gold,
which is much older.
like 5,000 years.
much older.
Is this change an epoch, right? Really like a change where gold can become obsolete? 5,000 years of gold, and gold is like the base, right? It's a base currency. You know, if we go back to the original use of money, right? When we, in response to the barter environment, right? Money became a medium of exchange, right? So instead of just doing a barter relationship, like you got a product, I got a product, and we had to have what's called coincidence of wants, or double coincidence of wants. It's like you had to want what I wanted, I had to have what you wanted, right? And
Right.
if that happened, we could make the trade.
Right, exactly.
But money facilitated a trade that we did not have to have that double coincidence of wants, right?
Yeah.
And I think money was used over those last 5,000 years, or what facilitated trade with like cowrie shells, right? But like especially like, and I think this is probably true throughout the planet, right? I mean, the Aztecs had found significant use of gold, correct? The Mayans, the Egyptians, the Ghanaians, right? On the African continent, the American continent, in China, right? Asia, right? I think
Yes.
that just about all over the planet, gold had some kind of relevancy, right? And I believe it had relevancy because it was scarce, right? So it was hard to copy, correct, right? It was durable, right? It was divisible, right? And you could use it for transactions. You could carry it, right?
Yeah, portable.
Portable and fungible, right? You know what fungible means?
Yeah, I know what fungible
Tell,
means.
because I forgot.
I'm gonna wait till we get to non-fungible. I want to talk about non-fungible when we
Alright.
get to the NFTs.
Okay, all right, fungible, right? But so but coming back to this idea that we got 5,000 year history of gold, and then the next layer, right, was notes that were like certificates of deposit that represented the gold. So you didn't have to carry the gold with you.
Right.
You carry these notes, and you use these notes as a medium of exchange.
And still backed by
Right.
gold.
It's still backed by gold, right? And also, like, what are the three characteristics of money, right? So it's used as a medium of exchange, which means it facilitates the exchange process. It is a store of value, right? This is money, right? And it's a unit of account, right? So we use it so instead of adding up, like, say, for example, the gross domestic product, right? Instead of adding up all the goods and services in product form, right? We use money, in this case in the United States, the US dollar as a unit of account, right? To get the gross domestic product. Right? So it's a medium, it facilitates the exchange process, it's a store of value, right? And it's a unit of account. So you got gold as a base layer, right? And right now in today's world, there's about $12 trillion value, right? Market cap at about $12 trillion, right? Bitcoin or crypto is a trillion?
Crypto, the global market cap for all cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin, is
About
1.3 trillion dollars,
Okay,
so almost 1.5.
And I kind of remember when Bitcoin was around $70,000. Was it a year ago, year and a half ago?
Yes, per coin.
Per coin, right?
We're at half of that, at 29,000.
Right. And so when that happened, I think that Bitcoin itself was up to $1 trillion market cap by
Wow.
itself, right?
But it hadn't crossed it.
I think it was close to it.
Okay.
Right? It might have, right?
Well, currently it's at $570 billion
Okay.
in market cap.
Okay. Okay. If we measure it in terms of dollars.
Yes.
Because part of the idea is, like, you know, what will your child and my children, right? What unit of account will they use? What medium of exchange will they use? Like, for example,
Satoshis.
and why, right? I mean, like why? Like, again, like when, like, in the 20th century, the 19th century, the 18th century, and probably for like 5,000 years, right? The two main time periods, especially when we moved to, like, when we're doing transactions in the U.S., well, not even the U.S., during the capitalist political economic system. Got a question?
Yes, on TikTok, Dad of Young Sheldon asked, would you rather watch a tree grow or a Negro?
I mean, I would watch both.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess I'd watch both.
I wouldn't mind watching a Negro under a tree grow.
Yeah,
I like that.
yeah,
Both is beautiful.
yeah.
And who is that?
Dad of Young Sheldon.
Shout out to Dad of Young Sheldon
Okay,
and
yeah.
Young Sheldon.
Yeah. Okay. But but coming back, right? Like, people go to gold as a hedge for inflation, or people go to gold, right? If there's some kind of fear in the air, right?
I mean, we're definitely suffering from inflation right now, and it seems as if the U.S. dollar is crumbling before our eyes in a way that people said would never happen.
Well, I mean, the U.S. dollar, right? I mean, I think, like, there's like this whole movement. I mean, people, for historical reasons, the U.S. dollar became the global currency,
The reserve currency.
The reserve currency. by kind of like by default, and it stayed the reserve currency by our hegemonic power, right? But coming back to the children, do you think that, like, is gold going to be the unit of choice for a hedge against crisis environments, or the hedge against inflation?
I think that people will always invest in gold, and we're talking technology. It has many use cases in technology currently, and will moving forward. But as far as being the global reserve currency, no, I feel as though it's going to be a granddaddy crypto and Bitcoin.
Yeah, I think so too. And why do you think, right? I think that probably, like, one of the things, like, I don't know if you've made financial transactions with Bitcoin, but I have, right? And those transactions are that quick.
I mean, we've been off of the gold standard for a long time now.
Since 1971.
Yes, my whole life we've already been off of the gold standard. We've been on this fiat currency, or currency of decree, and it's a lot less trust in that system and in those centralized powers at this point. So we're moving toward a decentralized.
Decentralized, and I think, like, you got your phone right there, right? But this is the technology of choice for the young folks.
Yeah, they all have these.
They all
and they're not far. They're all
real close to everybody.
In this proximity.
Yeah, and so I think that the young folks are really going to be looking at a medium of exchange, right, or a store of value that is one, divisible, right, and very portable, right? It can move, like Bitcoin. Like, assuming, like, we could continue our conversation with regard to Bitcoin being a form of money or a story of value, right? I mean, I could send Bitcoin to El Salvador today, right? They could receive it, and when they receive it, they can convert it from their phone, right, to the currencies of their choice. Mm-hmm. Right, and I believe that the young folks are really going to be that's going to be the route for them.
And that's if you have to exchange in it immediately, but it will serve you better. I mean, speculatively, it could serve you better potentially if you kept it in Bitcoin for a year, 2, 3 years, 10 years. Imagine what that crypto will be worth. Or that Bitcoin.
I mean, that what we project.
Potentially, yeah.
And that's important too, because that what you're talking about is a particular personal finance habit, right?
If you have the means to do so.
Yeah. Well, if you have the means, I think, like, when we say if you have the means, I think all of us have the means to save, right? But I think our world is that, if you save in dollars, right? Dollars is a depreciating asset, right?
Absolutely.
The purchasing power of the dollar next year, if I save, right, the purchasing power of the dollar, let's say I save $100, right, and if the inflation rate is 7%, right, the purchasing power of that $100 a year from now is going to be $93.
Yep.
And so, is that really the asset that I want to save in?
Absolutely not.
And so I think that because of that, for us working class folks, right, that's kind of a discouragement, right, to actually save.
And we're talking about the kids again, because they are the future, and they're not necessarily the working class right now.
The children, they're the children of the working class, right?
The children of the working class, right? And we're talking about what will they be transacting in, and they don't have the fear of the digital assets that we do. We talked about your son coming to you for real money that you worked hard to earn, to buy skins, which is digital clothes. When was the last time he came to ask you to buy? When was the last time he came to ask you for money to buy real clothes?
Yeah.
In comparison to buying clothes for his video game character.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's obvious.
Yeah, but the personal finance habit is one of savings, right? And the thing about the U.S. dollar, again, it appears to be a depreciating asset, and we could talk a little bit about why that is. But Bitcoin, on the other hand, I mean, there's a fixed number of them, right? And everybody knows like how many Bitcoin there are out there. Do you know?
I don't know currently, but I know over the course of when it's all said and done, it'll be 21 million.
Right.
Bitcoin.
And that was programmed into the what we call Bitcoin right now, into that form of technology, right? There's 21 million, and it's a fixed account. Okay. So the big question, and I don't know anybody out there.
How much USD is in circulation after all of these stimulus checks went out? Do we know that?
Oh, I probably could Google it, right?
Yeah.
But coming full circle, right? What will our children be using for transactions? Chances are, right, that the dollar, the fiat currency, right? I mean, what's it? Central bank digital currency, right? There's all across the planet, right? They recognize the significance of blockchain, and I say it's the governments, the private sector, and the retail people. They're not really quite getting it, and I guess that's kind of what we want to do, is try to share the knowledge with everyday people, right? But there clearly is going to be a move towards digital currency, but if it's central bank digital currency, is probably going to have the same characteristics as regular currency, meaning that a centralized authority will be able to, like, if there's a situation, they could get together in a room, right? The Federal Reserve authorities, right, will get together and say, look, we need to, or if the federal government says we need money, right? They could sell bonds, and they could just print it, right?
More.
And it's not really printing, right? I mean, because this is but zeros and ones, right? It's a technology, but they can create more, right? They can create more, and generally what happens is that when the central banks create more money, right, the money in our pockets,
the value
gets
decreases,
weaker, right? It gets weaker,
decreases in value,
right? Yeah. And so like, everyday people on Main Street, right? We do need to be aware of this, right? And again, there's a lot of conversation about losing rights, right, when we go digital, right? But again, using the credit cards, using PayPal, we've already given up a significant
we've gone
amount.
Digital.
Yeah, we've gone digital.
We're not going digital. We've gone digital.
Right, and we've given up a lot of our rights. And what's true about Bitcoin, right, in particular, right, is that it's a decentralized form of money, right? The exact opposite. So the technology, there's no human being that can control it, right? I mean, human beings could use it, right? But there's really no human being that can actually control it. It's a fundamentally sound peer-to-peer network. It's a network. Now,
with an open ledger.
With the open ledger, right? And I think the open ledger, what that means is that because of the way I believe that the Bitcoin computing network, right, is the most powerful computing network in the world.
Yep.
Bitcoin, right? I mean, there's a lot of networks out there, right? But as a computing network, Bitcoin is the most powerful computing network. And that computing network is, what was I going to say about it?
It's awesome.
It's awesome. Thank you. It's awesome. But one thing about it is that, I had some comments last time we did this Crypto Monday about environment, right? That the impact on the environment. I heard today that over 50% of the energy source that produces Bitcoin, right, is renewable resources.
Okay.
Right, solar, wind, geothermal, right, and even in I think like down in El Salvador, they're planning on using those volcanoes.
Oh wow!
Right, to generate the energy, and so one of the commentaries was that that Bitcoin uses a lot of energy, but the fiat currency of the United States as the global reserve currency, if you think about what we use to maintain the U.S. dollar as the reserve currency, what do you think? Well, I mean, why have people used the U.S. dollar since 1971, or when it was backed by gold?
I'd say we probably use military power.
It's our military power. I think so too. It's our military power. It's our economic power. I mean, we live in an amazing country, right? And it's that amazingness, right? But it takes a lot of energy to keep this amazing country together, and to maintain the military, that takes a lot of energy.
Absolutely,
it takes a lot of energy. So, some of the pushback on Bitcoin and its energy uses is that for the U.S. to maintain the dollar and its global hegemony, it's our military power. It's the strength of our economy. Okay. What else? What else we want to talk about? Now, hey, let's. I wanted to do a little walk in the history. Look at this right here. Bitcoin's value, the historical comparison. Mm-hmm. Let's take a look at this, right? So
from January of 2009.
Yeah. So one thing again, we just kicking it with regard to Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies. We're kicking it with regards to the change in epoch, right, which is the change of our environment, the total social, economic, environmental environment, that's changed. And because this environment has changed, we need to change our language. And so, for example, the Paradigm Shift podcast is the idea that we're changing our paradigm. And we're changing it from what? Economics of scarcity to?
Economics of abundance.
Economics of abundance, right? It's the mindset. So we're changing this mindset. So this whole conversation is built around the recognizing that the world has changed, right? That we're not in the industrial age of the 20th century. We're in the information age, the knowledge age, the digital age, and all the characteristics that are associated with it. Now, it's still capitalist, right? We're still in a capitalist economy, right, where we have private ownership of the means of production, right? But it's an advanced capitalist economy. So this podcast is recognizing this idea of a shift in paradigms, right? That's what we're doing. We're changing our language. We're shifting from economics of scarcity to economics of abundance. That's a shift in our language, right? And we are looking at, like, for example, our podcast, when we look at wealth, we look at wealth as life wealth, right? That like your health is a form of wealth, right? And like this Western civilization, there's been a lot of attempts, right? Or as we go after getting money, right? We put our health in jeopardy, right? Put in long hours, eat unhealthy food, a lot of stress, right? All around trying to, what do the young folks call? I don't even really use that language anymore. Get in that bag. Are they still using that?
Yeah, they chasing the bag.
Chasing the bag, right? That's a lot of stress, right? So we understand, and we are discussing, and we're talking economics, talking political economy, using the language of abundance, right? Recognizing that when you chase the bag or what have you, right, you really got to pay attention to your health, right? Your health is a form of wealth. And so, but also, matter, right? Material things are also a form of wealth. So that's the framework of this conversation right here. But Bitcoin came into existence in January of 2009, right? And its value was basically nothing, right?
Yeah, it says user smoke too much auctioned off 10,000 Bitcoin for $50. And that would be some fairly simple math just to do the zeros to see how much that $50 will be worth today in Bitcoin, with Bitcoin being valued at $29,000 per coin.
Yeah.
He's auctioned off 10,000 of them for $50.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
In what year?
That
2009?
was 2009, yeah. That's when it first came into existence.
Not very long ago.
Yeah. But in 2009, it was a totally different product. So the founder, right, was the Satoshi Nakamoto, right? And it's either a pseudonym or it's a person in general, right? But he or a group of people built this protocol, right? And they shared it with the world. And you think about 2009, that was like during the financial crisis of 2008. That was when people were talking about Occupy Wall Street. Right, and talking about the 1% was controlling like 40-50% of all the wealth on the planet, right? And the banks were too big to fail.
Yeah, 2009, I was a couple years out of high school. I had just had my first child, and my second child. And had I invested in Bitcoin back then, I guaranteed to be a millionaire if I would have kept it.
Yeah, kept it. But again, what I was saying, but now is that saying that this $30,000 is like the end of the road, right?
Oh, absolutely not. You're still in a good position if you were to invest now and hold.
Yeah, and I think like going back to part of the conversation we're having, right? So a lot of working class people, the art of investing, right? We are in the industrial age. If you had a job and you worked at Bethlehem Steel or General Motors or the Ford plant or any of these plants,
I had just got on the fire department.
Fire department
in 2009.
Right? And I mean, I think you guys get a pension, right?
We do.
Yeah, but that pension for most people is gone the way of the dinosaur.
I mean, if you listen to Robert Kiyosaki, the pensions are not guaranteed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like General Motors, they had a pension and they reneged on their pension, right? And it not just being mean-spirited, right? It was just that
the money wasn't there.
The money wasn't there.
Money wasn't there.
But the thing is that, so now we're in the 21st century and the language is that you got to pay attention to, pretty much you got to become your own financial advisor, right? But some people just don't want to do that. And we believe that Bitcoin as a tool for savings takes that stress out of it. Is that if you just like dollar cost average into Bitcoin and you plan to hold on to it for many, many years, right? You don't really need to develop the consciousness of being a major investor. You can develop the consciousness of being a saver.
Yeah, now many people will say dollar cost averaging is the way to invest, and how you word it, put a tax on yourself and save in Bitcoin instead of dollars, because if you look at the charts, it's obvious that the USD is a depreciating asset, and you look at what Bitcoin has outperformed every other asset class since its existence.
Yeah,
so
over
the course of its existence.
It has, right? So let's take a look at this. So May 2010. Actually, can you show my screen?
Yes, sir.
Can the people see it?
Yep.
Yeah? Okay. So look at this, right? So on my screen, this is the relationship, the Bitcoin value comparisons to the US dollar. So when it first was created, basically nothing, right? A year later, a penny. Okay. let's see what happened. Oh, we heard about the buying 2 pizzas in Jacksonville, Florida for 10,000 Bitcoin. All right, 10,000 Bitcoin to buy 2 pizzas. Okay. If that 10,000 was held today, it would surpass $600 million as of April 2021. Okay.
I'd have been messed up too because I would have bought the pizzas.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Who wouldn't?
I would have bought the pizzas.
Right, because during this time period, when it's a penny, like I remember, like we're in Buffalo, New York. I probably heard about, first time I heard about Bitcoin, probably around 2013, when one of my students told me about it. But at that time, I was just thinking it's like Ithaca, like we had Bengal bucks at Buffalo State University. And you could buy food with these Bengal bucks, and Bitcoin was sounding a lot like Bengal bucks to me. So I wasn't really paying attention. But I do want to stress that even though the protocol is exactly the same, the on-ramps, right, those who are adopting it has moved from the fringes of financial worlds to Wall Street itself. We've gone from the fringes, right, where we had the pop culture, right, I would say pop culture, but let's keep looking at
the largest hedge funds in the world investing in it now.
Yes, definitely. All right, so in 2011, 1 Bitcoin is equal to $1. Okay.
So we had parity in 2011.
Parity, but it had gone from a penny up to $1. Right.
In 1 year.
Year and a half, for sure. Then look at this, right? From February 11th to November 13th, right? It went from $1 to $350. And then in November 13th, in that year, it went from $350 to $1,200.
So that clearly was around the time of a halving. And if you do a little bit of research yourself, you could see when all of the halvings has taken place and what's happened to the value of Bitcoin around the times of the halvings, and you can see when the future ones will happen, and you'll see that these big jumps in value will happen again every time we have a halving, and you have to do some research to see what that is. Yeah. No, it's guaranteed.
Okay, all right, okay. I kind of. Well, I must say fearful about guaranteeing, right? But now, one thing about the guarantee. Okay, let me just say about the guarantee. Again, this is this podcast is economic and financial literacy. So this is not investment advice. Right now, these numbers we're looking at, this is on Wikipedia. Okay, all right, but check this out. So it dropped from 1,200 down to 340. Right, the following year, right? And so we dropped, like just recently, it dropped from like 69,000 down to about 15 or 16,000. And now it's gone from 15 or 16,000 right now in 2023, right? We're shooting this in April. In 2023, Bitcoin is the best performing asset of the year. In the first quarter of 2023, January,
that's
February,
beautiful.
March.
I was unaware of that stat. Yeah. That's beautiful.
Okay. So that looks like our first real downswing, right, from 1,200 down to 530. But then by March 2017, it went from 530, right, up to 1,290. Kept going up to 2,000. Kept going up to 5,000. Now, this is when I was starting to hear about it, right? Went up to 7,000, 8,000. And then right around here, right? This is about when I started teaching the class. I mean, my class was called Cryptocurrency, Blockchain, Crypto, and the Global Economy. So there was a huge buzz going on in December of 2017. And I think I started teaching my class in the spring of 2018. Okay. So it went up to close to $20,000. But in that same month, it dropped down from 19,783, dropped down to 13,000, close to 14,000. It dropped throughout February all the way, 2018 to 6,000, all right, down to 3,000. So within a year, it had dropped from 20,000 to 3,000.
Yeah, this asset always attracts major FOMO, and then you get these huge pumps, and then right after you get major corrections as well.
Yeah, and I remember some people that we had who were talking about Bitcoin and other kinds of assets, and they had the hard wallets, right? When this happened, they were calling it fool's gold, right? And you've heard of fool's gold, right? There's gold, and there's this what they call fool's gold. It looks like gold, but it's not gold, right? And people were saying that that's what Bitcoin was, a fool's
that's
gold.
That's what fiat is.
Yeah,
fool's gold.
Yeah, no doubt. Right. So from December of 2018, it goes from 3,000 up to 11,000 almost. Then the pandemic. All right, then we had the pandemic. So it drops from 11,000, the pandemic drops down to 5,000. Okay. And it said price dropped 50% in early 2020, and then lost 25% in a 24-hour time period. Okay, that was early COVID. Right. But then, right, also in 2020, right, if you remember that the asset bubble, right, with all those stimulus checks, right, all that money had to find places to go, right? And again, we as working class people, we were trying to survive, but the stock market went on a tear right after March of 2020, right, and all that, the
PPP loans?
Yeah, those PPP loans, right? The extended unemployment. There was a lot of money that was flooded into the economy.
That was being printed out of thin air.
Yeah, created for sure, right? And then it went from like that 5,000 in March all the way up to about 20,000 in November. And then in January of 2021, it reached 41,000, right? And then later on in January, it was January. Oh wait, there was a crash right there, right? 41,000. Then it dropped down by 26% to 33,000. But February, it made a resurgence.
Real quick, we got a question in the comments.
Okay.
Is there a question?
We had a question: is cryptocurrency real money?
That's a great question for an economist.
No, I'm gonna let you answer that because you told me what it is, right?
I would say that it's real money, and you and I had a discussion on pretty much like what is money or what. How was it when we were in the car? We're talking about belief, right? Right. So belief was the answer, and I would say that there's enough belief in this asset class that I would classify it as money. Absolutely.
Right. And also let's be clear, like in terms of what we're talking about, right? So just like there's an asset class, commodities are an asset class, right? And you got when you look at commodities, you got gold, you got silver, you got all the iron ores, you have copper, right? You have all these, but the super asset is gold. So we also have cryptocurrencies as an asset class,
which they call digital gold.
Well, no. I'm not talking about just Bitcoin. I'm talking about there's like 2,000 cryptocurrencies out there.
The market and
the market in general,
okay.
Right? So it's an asset class, but the super asset is Bitcoin.
Granddaddy
right?
crypto.
The granddad, and it's the one that that is decentralized, that it can't be controlled, right? So yes, I mean, I guess in the short, right, crypto in Bitcoin in particular is money if we believe that it's money, right? And the big question is, right, how do you want to play? Do you want to continue in a world where the central banks, like whenever there's a crisis, they print money or create money out of nothing, right? Making the money in your pocket or making the money on your card or what, your credit card, right? Or in your wallet, right? Weaker, right? Purchasing power diminishes. Or, right, do you want to participate in an asset class or an asset that we know that it's a fixed supply? And if you think about basic economics, fixed supply, right? If there's an increased demand, right, the price of that asset will continue to go.
Yeah,
Now,
I think it's a lot of confusion about what money actually is, and to that viewer, I would say do a quick Google search on what money is. What's the definition of money? And there's nothing that you will see in that definition that argues against Bitcoin being considered money.
Yeah. So I mean, we could finish this up, right? That money is a medium of exchange. Can Bitcoin be used as a medium of exchange?
Yes, it is.
It's a store of value.
Yes, a lot of value,
Right?
big value.
It's a unit of account.
Yes.
What's the account? Bitcoin and Satoshis, right? And then there's micro units, right? I mean, right? Money also has the properties of being scarce.
It has that innate scarce ability.
21 million coins, right?
Yep.
Durable. It's durable, right? It's like
Because it's decentralized.
it's decentralized,
and
and you have
technology is
and the
durable.
blockchain technology and that computing network make sure that
It's immutable.
right, okay, it's divisible, right? Bitcoin, so you don't have to buy a Bitcoin, right? You could buy Satoshis, or you could save in Satoshis, right? Can you do Is it portable?
Extremely portable.
You can move it
Like you
instantaneously.
said, they're not taking
Okay.
gold to space.
Right. Okay. So I would say that in that context, right, it has all the characteristics of of money, and the last characteristics is the belief value. Right? Do you believe in it? And what's happening again? This Bitcoin and crypto has gone from fringes of society, fringes of the financial sector, to being like the derivatives of Bitcoin is being bought and sold on the stock market today, right? In the form of ETFs,
That was a lot, Doc.
right? It was,
We,
but
we
let me
gave the people a lot.
yeah, but let's give them this. Let's give them this. Look at this chart: 50,000, 60,000, 64,000. It crashed down to 30,000, 50,000, 60, 35, 25, 25, down. Now, the big question is, in March of 2023 and in April of 2023, it hit 30,000. This being the trajectory, going from a penny, basically nothing, right, basically invisible, to reaching 70,000, pulling back. Today it's 30,000. What do you think, sir?
From invisible to invincible in a decade.
Woo, woo. From invisible to invincible. All right. Thank you for sharing your time with us on Dr. Hayes. Yeah, right. Okay. So check me out. Come on, let me take a look at
You can
that.
follow me on all platforms at Raphael Podcasts, and you can follow Doc.
At Dr. C. Hayes Jr. All platforms. Thank you very
YouTube
much.
Sigla, that's CIGLA_Buffalo.
All right. Okay.
Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in. And next one, we're talking Black political economy next Tuesday. Check us out.
Peace.
Peace.